We got the rules in hand for tomorrow and Thursday night's opening Democratic debates, which will feature a slate of 20 candidates over 2 nights and be hosted by MSNBC, NBC News, and Telemundo. Now, the rules make it clear that crisp answers will be of the utmost importance, because to make time for each of the 10 people on stage each night, there will be no opening statements, and candidates will have a tight 60 seconds to answer questions and 30 seconds to respond to follow-ups. There's another factor that will be central in this debate. It will really be the first time since Donald Trump came down the escalator 4 years ago that a political event does not really revolve around him and the truly historic levels of deception he is inclined to spin off. Instead, it will be a debate among a lot of people with genuine, sometimes conflicting policy stances who are more or less in the main tethered to the basic rules of reality and fact. Ace fact-checker Daniel Dale looked at the Democratic candidates' speeches this weekend in South Carolina, and while he did, to be clear, find some exaggerations and manipulations, most candidates did not say a single thing that was objectively false or misleading. Quote, there was a lot of subjective rhetoric about Trump and such, but the stats they cited, the factual assertions they made, were either entirely correct or supported by enough evidence not to call false. In other words, tomorrow night is basically a whole new world. Joining me now, Democratic strategist Cornell Belcher, an MSNBC political analyst, and Philippe Reines. He's former advisor to presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, who helped Clinton prepare for the general election debates by playing Trump in debate prep. Philippe, big question here. The early part of this primary really has been, I think, characterized by a lot of policy proposals, extremely substantive and weighty ones, ambitious ones. How much do you focus on that if you're a candidate up on that stage tomorrow night? You have a limited amount of time, and for particularly 15 out of the 20 candidates, I think a lot of people don't even know you're running. How much is that the thing you try to focus on and break through with?
Well, I think ideally your game plan is to go up there and to say what you would say on any other day, whether it is in South Carolina, in Iowa, in Florida, because you have a message. And the point is you want to keep repeating it so that it resonates and it actually people hear it and absorb it. If you're going up there tomorrow night or Thursday night saying something completely different than you do otherwise, you've got a problem, because either what you're saying normally isn't working or you just can't be disciplined enough. And look, you know, you made the comment before about time. I'm talking right now longer than what most of the candidates are going to be able to speak to tomorrow. Right. But it's I know my
producer's in my ear telling me that.
And, you know, but it's also important. You're going to have 5 moderators. You're going to have at any given time Lester Holt and 2 other moderators. You know, the moderators don't just say, OK, Julian Castro, what do you want to say to the camera? They have a question.
Sure, of course.
They'll say, what do you think about Iran? So you've not only have 60 seconds, you've got to answer a question and then pivot to your message in 60 seconds.
And here's the other big question, right? So the question of your message and how sort of substantive, how much do you engage? The other question, Cornell, I think, is how much you talk about the president. And this has been a really interesting through line throughout the 25 plus candidates on the trail, how much they talk about Trump or not. You know, everyone in that room is going to be united in this feeling about Trump. It's a place to go in the sort of emotional core of a Democratic primary voting bloc that like everyone agrees on. But it also in some ways strikes me as kind of a wasted opportunity because everyone already agrees on it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, if I were being paid to consult here, I would say don't talk about Trump. I mean, you'll take a shot at Trump, but most of this field, they're at 2-3% support. You got to talk about yourself. You got to make the case. You got to have a moment there that breaks through. That's about you, because most of the Democratic primary universe, they have very little ideal of you unless your name is Joe Biden. Or Senator Sanders. They have very little ideal who you are. So if you're one of those candidates sitting at 2 or 3% support, I would not waste a moment of my time talking about Donald Trump. I'd be talking about me and why I should be the president.
Philippe, what do you think?
You know, I actually disagree, and I'll tell you why. Yes, 100% of the audience, both in Miami and at home, are going to agree that Donald Trump is terrible and needs to be removed. But 38% of them think it should be Joe Biden. 15% think it should be Elizabeth Warren. 1% thinks it should be Jay Inslee. So while there's vigorous, unanimity in the goal overall, you still want to show that you can go toe-to-toe the way people are assuming that some of the bigger names. I mean, it seems that Joe Biden is really benefiting from this notion that he has what it takes to take on Trump.
You're saying
you want other people want to show, hey, I can do it too.
So,
and you don't need to do that by fighting with Joe Biden. You can do it by looking into the camera.
Right.
But
so
here's why I would
I just want to make sure I understand that. You're saying that the way that you show you can take on Trump is to take him on in absentia. That's a way that's a marker to people who are looking for someone who could do that.
For all intents and purposes, there's going to be an 11th person on stage both nights, and it's Donald Trump.
Cornell.
Well, but I don't think that distinguishes you. I think what distinguishes you is how you contrast yourself from the other people on the stage, because you're not running against Donald Trump right now. At some point, you do have to contrast yourself from the people who are in front of you, and whoever's in your lane. If you are a centrist Democrat and one of those other centrist Democrats are in your lane, you better be contrasting yourself to one of them, or even to a certain extent Joe Biden, because you got to take away that support from him, and you got to figure out sort of who's in your lane and come at you from who's in your lane.
And Chris, the mini debate that Cornell and I are having is going on right now in 20 different campaigns.
Yes,
That's
exactly
right. That's exactly right.
Well, here's the interesting thing. You said the lane thing. I think I learned, so two things. I think I learned the lesson from the Republican race to don't think about lanes. Because I think that in some ways the electorate, here's my basic idea, is you should be really good. And what I mean by that is essentially, what I mean here is that my way that I think voters will see this is show, don't tell. Which is, as opposed to say, like, here's why I could beat Trump, it's like, if you sparkle, if you're good, if you're compelling, if your message is strong, that shows that you're a good candidate. Like, to me, much more important than almost anything else is to perform in such a way that you are memorable and impressive above anything else you do, because everything flows out of that. What do you think, Philippe?
I do. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you should answer questions as if the moderator said, okay, just speak for 60 seconds.
Drives me insane when people do that on my show, but you're probably right.
I think that's why Elizabeth Warren is in great position tomorrow night, because whatever she's been doing out on the campaign trail has been working, and she just has this is just another audience.
Yes.
But, there's also a part of this we're not discussing, which is the totality of the whole thing. When it comes up at 9 o'clock, we see 10 people. Only 5 of them are going to be white guys. There are going to be 3 women on stage. I don't think there's ever been more than 1 woman on a stage. You're going to have, I think, 5 people of color. I mean, it's going to energize the Democrats. And people are going to say, you know what? And I think the point earlier about people are going to hear that we have ideas, the contrast to what's going on with Trump, listening to Senator Tester talking about immigration, or listening to Congresswoman Waters talk about Iran, people are going to be just so worked up and ready to go.
Yeah, I remember the first day at the House swearing in of the new class, just the striking visuals of the contrasting coalitions in American political life.
They should all wear white tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Cornell Belcher, Philippe Reines, thank you both for being with me. Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.